Greetings, everyone. It gives us great pleasure to connect with our customers, partners, and new evaluators who are using Zoho Vault to protect your enterprise passwords and also to explore passwordless authentication. My name is Mauli. I am one of the product experts at Zoho. And Christopher, I am sure most of you are already aware. You would have contacted him via our technical support or through our phone or any other channels. So without getting delayed, let's get started. Today we will see a quick overview of Zoho Vault, but this will be very short overview. We want to give an overview for the new evaluators, and then we will jump into 6 unexplored features as we shared in our communication. So we will walk through access controller flow, TOTP with Zoho Vault and Zoho OneAuth, and the latest addition, how you can manage payment cards within Zoho Vault, fine-grained controls, IP restriction, and emergency access or break glass account. We will have a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar, but even during the session, we encourage you to post your questions in the Q&A tab in Zoho meeting. As we all understand and accept the fact that password management is quite a hassle, so it is humanly impossible to come up with unique password for each account, and we often end up hitting the forgot password option in our login screen. And we also share this password loosely using sticky notes or spreadsheets or via mobile or chat. But in an office environment, especially in a shared environment, it is highly impossible for the administrators or the business owners to know who access which account and when, especially when something goes wrong. We don't have a clear picture of who did what and when, and the company's reputation is at risk. And at sometimes, if the customer data is exposed, governments can impose a huge fine and the business can go out of operations. So such is the impact of poor password management, but we handle it very lightly. So look at the screen. A strong password is something like this, and it is really impossible for a normal human being like us to come up with such a password for each of our accounts. That is exactly where a solution like Zoho Vault can come and help businesses. If you look at the latest statistics, so across the globe, this is a research from Cyber News, one of the cybersecurity research agency. So when they did a research about the most commonly used passwords in 2023, still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tops the list, followed by QWERTY, password, and some combinations of numbers. So this includes both individuals from businesses and also personal password. So it is pretty much sure each company will have someone, some employee using a password like this. And if they are going to use a password like this, attackers can come up with the combination and can gain access to your organization data. So now we know or understand the need of a password management solution. So to have a secure account, it is recommended to have strong and unique password for each account. But we have hundreds of accounts today, especially in a business environment, and we need to have strong and unique password for each account. But a password manager can help with its password generator, and the end users can just remember one master password to log in everywhere else. And for IT admins, it gives a huge peace of mind. They get a clear picture of who accessed which account and when using the audit trails and reports. Zoho Vault is one of the robust password manager, and with which you can access all your websites and cloud applications by remembering just one master password. The good news is we are even removing this master password with biometric authentication, and that update is coming very soon. So when it comes to the product highlights, you can store n number of passwords and documents within Zoho Vault. The key differentiating factor here is when it comes to other vendors out there in the market, they have an upper limit of 1.5 GB or 2 GB to store the password or for the documents. But when it comes to Zoho Vault, it is truly unlimited. You can store from hundreds to 10,000s or lakhs of passwords, 100,000s of passwords and documents. The document size, each document size is restricted to 2 MB, but you can store unlimited number of documents. Not just store and share password, it also helps you to have a password policy for your company, detects passwords which are part of data breaches, and being a SaaS solution, it also offers offline access, backup via cloud or backup via offline methods, and it also offers you comprehensive audit trails and reports. If you are someone who is tech savvy and have a set of legacy apps with which you want to integrate Zoho Vault, we have a REST API for you. You can connect Zoho Vault API with your company's in-house system, and you can fetch this password, view this password, share this. We also have a CLI now. So if you are someone, a developer who wants to make use of a CLI, just write to support@zohovault.com. Christopher and team will be happy to share the package with you. So when it comes to compliance, Zoho Vault is compliant with the GDPR Act in the European Union, CCPA for the North American region, and HIPAA for the North American region. So we understand you are going to store your enterprise passwords and personal password in Vault, and an additional level of security is recommended. And we offer Zoho Vault and Zoho OneAuth bundled together, meaning if you are going to use Zoho Vault, you can use Zoho OneAuth for free of cost, which helps you to have a multi-factor authentication via biometrics or OTP or offline methods based on your convenience. So Zoho OneAuth is something like a Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator, but this comes at free of cost bundled with your Zoho Vault subscription itself. Not just with Zoho Vault, if you have any other Zoho subscription, Zoho Vault is already part of your subscription. So the tip is make use of it, and you don't need to pay additionally for your MFA. So apart from the basic features, we have higher level integrations for enterprises, especially CM integration. So the password audit logs can be sent to your CM solution, and as an IT admin, you can get a holistic picture of who accessed what password and when, and you can correlate the password events with your organization threats and come up with recommended measures. So we also understand the world is slowly moving toward passwordless authentication. Hence, we have introduced single sign-on for cloud application. This is another one of the not very much used feature, meaning with Zoho Vault, you add a website password and share it with different levels of access permission, and your employees access this websites, which is authenticated through password. When it comes to single sign-on, there is no such measure. So what happens here is you just go to the app screen and you enable this particular application for anyone. I just hit the authentication method. I don't need to enter the login credentials or whatever. So this is 100% passwordless, and if you are part of the enterprise edition or if you are part of Zoho One, the passwordless authentication is already available in Zoho Vault. Go ahead and make use of this particular feature. So we have multiple editions. We have a free edition for personal use and standard, professional, and enterprise, starting from $1 to $8. So we also offer some discounts for educational institutions and non-profit organization. So based on the choice of edition and the volume of users, write an email to sales@zohocorp or support@zohovault.com. Our team will be happy to send a customized quote. So when it comes to security application, it is very, very important for you to understand the architecture or how the system works, because you are giving your enterprise password to be stored in Vault, and you need to know how the application works, at least at the basic level. So what happens is Zoho Vault is a SaaS application. You can access it from your browsers, extension, or mobile application. So when you sign up for your account or when you access your account, you need to create your master password, and this master password is only known to you. We don't store this master password anywhere in our servers. Hence, when you access the Zoho Vault application from your browser, you enter the master password and the data gets encrypted with your master password, and only the encrypted data gets stored in our data centers across the regions. If you are from North America or EU, it is recommended to store your data in the respective data centers for better compliance. We also have data centers in India, Australia, and China. So based on your residence or based on your company's headquarters or operations, it is recommended to store your data in the respective data center. So not just that, along with Zoho OneAuth or any other multi-factor authentication, so Zoho Vault offers you complete security and privacy, and the data is securely transmitted over HTTPS. So by this way, you are only sending the encrypted data through a secure messaging tunnel, and this gets stored in Zoho's data center. So even in worst case, nobody can view your passwords or confidential data in plain text without your master password. And this master password is not stored with Zoho. Only the user yourself knows this. By this way, we are able to offer 100% secure and private architecture for our end users. So the application is available across all platforms. It's a cross-platform application. You can access it from your web browser or desktop or the mobile application, iPad, or whatever be. So we understand most of the customers, most of the users wants to access their password or login to other application via the web browser. So hence we have a browser extension of Zoho Vault available across all popular browsers. So Safari, Chrome, Firefox. So ULA is Zoho's new browser, which is privacy focused. So what is the specialty of ULA is? So I am presenting this particular webinar from the ULA screen, ULA browser. So it is a privacy focused browser with multiple modes. You have kids mode, you have work mode, developer mode, incognito, and you can choose the mode based on your usability. And the major differentiating part is it prevents you from third-party trackers, and it don't sell your data to advertisers. So there is zero surveillance. So your data is 100% secure. When you connect to the internet, you are accessing the internet through a secure, surveillance-free environment. So Zoho ULA is a new app from Zoho. We recommend you to go ahead and try out the app. It's ulaa.com. From here, you can go ahead and download the browser application. So once that is done, you can see on the screen, you can also install the Zoho Vault browser here. So from here, you can access all your applications. So say for example, from here, I just hit Twitter, I hit the login, and I would be automatically logged into my Twitter application. So that's how it works. It's a simple, private, and fast browser and surveillance free. So go ahead and make use of ULA. Or if you are someone already using Chrome, Firefox, Edge, or other platforms, still Zoho Vault extension is available. You can go ahead and install the extension, and you can access most of the password related features directly from your browser extension itself. So Zoho Vault, as part of the Zoho ecosystem, it readily integrates with Zoho projects, Zoho Mail, Zoho Workdrive, Zoho Flow, and multiple different Zoho applications. So we have contextual integration here. If you have a project, you can create a Zoho project for the same, and you can share all your passwords in a folder and share it with the entire team who are part of that project. Likewise for Zoho Desk and Zoho Mail, you can access the password related to a ticket, or you can fetch all your password information directly from your inbox. Zoho Workdrive comes into picture if you want to send your data backup to Zoho Workdrive, and Zoho Flow is something like Zapier or Power Automate, with which you can configure no code workflow. If someone requests for a password access request, you can automatically trigger an email notification, and you can configure or come up with any number of workflows based on your use case in your organization. Not just with Zoho application, Zoho Vault also work hand in hand with third-party applications, especially Office 365, Google Workspace. If you want to integrate Zoho Vault with this application, the beauty is you can import your user list from O365 or Google Workspace, and your users can log into Zoho Vault with their Google or Office 365 credentials itself. By this way, they don't need to remember another password for their password manager. They can just enter their Office 365 or Google Workspace credentials and still access the password manager, and they can securely log in and log out. And as an IT admin, it gives you a peace of mind. You don't have another additional credential to manage in your company. So one login Okta, so Active Directory or Azure, or we call it Microsoft Entra now. So if you have any of these application, you can integrate it with Zoho Vault, import the user. For some application, we also offer user group sync. You can make use of all these features. So cloud backup is available, so you can send all your passwords and documents in Zoho Vault periodically or every day to Box, Dropbox, or Zoho Work Drive based on the application you use in your company. So help desk solution is another enterprise grade integration. So if you have ServiceNow, Jira, or Manage Engine Service Desk Plus, you can integrate your help desk with Zoho Vault. By this way, if you have a ticket ID, based on the ticket ID, if you want to grant access to a password, that can be automated with this particular integration. CM service is something like all the password-based logs and events can be triggered from Zoho Vault to Microsoft Sentinel or Sumo Logic or SolarWinds Logly. So you can send your password-related logs to your CM service, and you can get a holistic picture from there. So don't just take our words. You can also see how Zoho Vault is recommended from third-party vendors. So Zoho Vault is PC Max Editor Choice Password Manager, and also from other reputed industry websites. So now it's time for demo. I will hand over the session to Christopher. Christopher, I have also added a few slides for the 6 features. So you can use that for the introduction, and you can jump into the demo. Thank you.
Thank you, Modi. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. So the first option that, as we highlighted in the the agenda, so it's going to be the access control workflow. As Modi explained, we do have an option to share passwords with team members in Zoho Vault. And you can also define the level of access by providing access permissions like one-click login, one view, modify, and manage. But even with these permissions in place, users, whoever has access to the shared password, they can instantly access them whenever needed. But let's say, if you are sharing a password that is critical to your business, or if it is a privileged account, and you don't want users to, instantly access it. Instead, you want them to access it after a proper authorization or approval. Then the access control workflow is the solution. So this access control workflow acts as an additional layer of authorization to the shared passwords. So you share a password with access control enabled. Then, as mentioned in the diagram, user can raise a request for instant access or after a specific duration of time. So the request will be sent to the password owner who owns the password in Vault, and it will be sent to other administrators who are configured for authorization in the product. So one of them has to approve the user's access request. And once the request is approved, user can check out and use the password for the duration that is configured in the access control window. And After the specific duration, the password access, the approved one, will change back to requested.
Christopher, just 1 second, Christopher. Uh, can you remove my tab, the little icon, so it is not visible? Yeah, great now.
All right. So, so these are, shared passwords in my Vault account. And let's say you share a password and that's critical to your business or organization. So you can select the particular password, and from more, you can enable access control to the shared password. So here, as I mentioned, like by default, the owner of the password will be available as the select admins or as an approver in the list. In addition to that, you can select, like any other admins and super admins involved for approval. And you can specify so how long the user must have access to the particular password, and you can enable the access control for shared passwords. So when they log into the system and they try to access the list of shared passwords, so they will be able to see the passwords that are shared with them. So they can instantly access and use them, like whenever needed. But in case if any password that is shared with access control configured on top of it, so they will see a padlock icon on the password logo, so which is an indication that it is an access control enabled password. And if user try to access such credentials in Vault, so the user cannot, like directly use them or directly access the credential information. So instead, they raise a request with the reason for retrieving the password. So this request will be sent as an email notification to the password owner and other admins who are configured for authorization, and they can log into the product. And under settings, you have password access request. So from here, you can manage access to all password access requests in the system. Or if you're already logged into the product or logged into the service, on the top right, you have the notification. So you will also get a live notification in Zoho Vault. So based on which you can approve or reject, like the user's access request. So you can review the reason and you can approve or reject the password access request. So once it is approved, the user will be allowed to access this particular password for a specific duration. So they can check out. The password will be accessible for 90 minutes. So the time frame can be between 30 minutes to 120 minutes. So once the time frame, the configured time frame exceeds, automatically the access control will reset the user's privilege to the password. And once again, it will be set to request mode for future access. Once the usage is done, user can do a check-in. So this will automatically, like revoke the approval. So user, if they need access once again, they can raise a request in the future. So this access control request, like it's not only for immediate access. You can also request for, for a future need. Like you can specify the date and timestamp when it is needed. Once it is approved on that particular day and time, you will have, like automatic access to it. You can just check out and use the password. So the access control request, like it is not only an approval option from the web interface of Vault. So if you also have a mobile application, that is the Android or iOS application of Zoho Vault, you can also approve the password access request directly from the mobile apps.
Any interesting use case where this access control is used that you commonly come across?
So I said earlier, like this is not used for like all types of passwords.
Correct.
So this is only used, like when you're sharing any, like highly sensitive passwords that is belong to your business. For
Okay.
example, if you take a finance team, so they have, like the card details or bank account information that are sensitive to their team. So
Correct.
which they do not want everyone to access, and only authorized people should use it. So in such cases, we'll have, like access control enabled on top of it. It doesn't mean that we are not providing access to it. So we want to provide just, like an access on the time or a duration when it is needed. And it is known to us, like, so we'll have a complete visibility of when someone is requesting access or who is requesting access and what's the purpose of it. Everything can be analyzed with the access control work.
Okay, because we just launched a poll parallelly while you presented. So I see most of the attendees or majority of the attendees are not making use of this feature. So what is one tip from you to them, how they can make most out of this feature?
All right. See, first and foremost, like we need to understand the product edition because this is not available in all the editions. So there are chances, like people might have not seen this option in their interface. But, like in case if it is available, like in the product, I would certainly encourage, like everyone to, like start implementing this option for any sensitive passwords that they manage in their organization. So,
Especially for users, they can make use of this. They have all the features.
exactly, you're right. So Zoho One and our enterprise users of Zoho Vault, they can certainly use this option.
Thank you, Christopher. Please go ahead. Sorry to disturb you.
No problem. So along with this option for access control in case if you do not want to approve the password access request, but you just want to keep track of detailed reason for accessing sensitive or critical accounts, you can also enable automatic approval in Vault. So we can do automatic approval in all weekdays, or in case if you do not want to, you can manage on the weekdays, but you want to do an approval on weekends, you can also do that. Or if it should be, like automatically approved, like all the days between a specific time frame from 8 a.m. to morning 6 p.m. That is, like morning 8 a.m. to evening 6 p.m. You can configure for automatic approvals, and we also support help desk integration, as you mentioned earlier. Like with help desk integration, we can do a ticket validation and automatically approve passwords. So this is pretty much about the access control workflow. So the next one is the TOTP with Zoho Vault and like OneAuth option. So so in general, like when we have like MFA enable, so we have the sign-in credential as well as an OTP, which is an additional piece of information to prove the ownership of the particular account. So in case of the MFA enabled accounts, especially when it comes to a shared space, so it is, pretty much difficult if we have, like one particular user's device is configured for MFA for shared accounts. So which means in a team, let's say we have the marketing team, for instance, and the routine of the marketing team is to, like post contents about the organization or the upcoming things with respect to product or something like that in the social media pages. So in this scenario, like if we have, like one particular user's device is configured for MFA, and when other team members, when they try to log in, so they get the sign-in credentials from Vault, but once they signed in and they get the MFA prompt for the TOTP code or, like for the one-time code, they need to reach out to the device owner and they need to get the code from the particular user and they need to sign in. So which means we are relying on one particular user or one particular user's device to sign into the account. So this is actually a shared account or a centralized account that belongs to the organization. So in case if there is a necessity where we need to have like a shared account, but the organization policy recommends MFA to be enabled for security reasons, then you can centrally manage the sign-in credentials, like along with the MFA within the vault. So your vault can be configured as an authenticator for third-party, like websites. And in case, with Zoho One or with Zoho Vault, we also offer the OneAuth MFA from Zoho. And this also has the capability to support the passwordless sign-in to Zoho account. And along with that, we offering, the authenticator option in the app. So, which is also pretty much equivalent to Google or Microsoft Authenticator app installed on the phone. So we can also configure OneAuth as an option to pull the TOTP from the authenticator configured in the OneAuth, and we can automatically, fill in the credentials. So these options to manage the shared credentials. So like these are pretty much like in place because if it is like completely based on a single user or based on a one particular user's device, so there will be, like a lot of efforts required when that particular user leaves the organization. So especially if it is a shared account, so it is always better to manage it centrally. And for centrally managing passwords, we do have this Zoho Vault. So we can also make use of it to manage MFA for shared accounts.
And another, I just want to add one single point here. Companies like Twitter are removing free OTP for their authentication part, additional level of authentication. And Zoho OneAuth offers free MFA. And if you use it in combination with Vault and Zoho OneAuth, it is easy for you to access Twitter or similar applications where they charge you MFA, but you can still make use of this particular method without paying additionally and still have a secure access. Thank you.
All right. So in this case, let's say the first scenario where we configure, like the TOTP or Zoho Vault as MFA for the third-party websites and applications. So we need to either manually configure the TOTP key in Zoho Vault, or we need to scan the QR that is generated on the website using the Zoho Vault mobile application. So this you can configure Zoho Vault as MFA to other third-party services just by using the option for authenticator or TOTP authenticator. So it is the currently like only available option for configuring Zoho Vault as MFA. So you can get the TOTP key from the websites when you reconfigure the MFA for the particular website or application. So in most cases, when you have an option to configure authenticator or TOTP authenticator, the name of the MFA option. So if you continue, you will see the option to, like the code, the TOTP key, or you will get a QR option which you can scan from the mobile application. So this key you can copy and you can paste in Zoho Vault, and this will generate the TOTP code in Vault. And this code you can use when you log into the app. So you have an option to directly, launch login from the browser extension. Or if you access directly the particular website, you can just simply use the login option on the screen. So this will automatically fill in the credential. And for most of the website, this can automatically like fill in the TOTP code, and you can seamlessly sign into the account. So in case if you're using Zoho OneAuth as MFA already, and you prefer to maintain the MFA in Zoho OneAuth, but you want to autofill the TOTP code during the auto login process of Zoho Vault, so there is an integration available with OneAuth. So probably like when you edit the particular password, you will find additional fields, and here you need to enable the option OneAuth secrets. So when you enable OneAuth secrets, this will provide you the option to select the list of TOTP codes that is available in the OneAuth Authenticator app already. So you can choose the required one and associated with the password. And during the sign-up, this will be used for autofilling the TOTP code. So in this case, when we use like the OneAuth as an option, so you also have an additional layer of authorization in place. So, so when we try to autofill the credential, so Zoho Vault will fill in the sign-in credentials, and you will receive a notification to your OneAuth application for the approval. And once it is verified, the extension will be authorized to fill in the credential, that is the TOTP code, and then the users will be signing into the service. So we can do both the ways, like especially for shared accounts, you can use the TOTP option available within Zoho Vault. In case if you're using OneAuth for your personal accounts, then you can link OneAuth with Zoho Vault, so you can autofill the TOTP codes during the auto log on with Zoho Vault extension. So these are two different options with respect to TOTP. All right. So the next one is the fine-grained controls. So I'm sure that most of you would have accessed this page. So this is where you can enable and disable access to the features in Zoho Vault. So if you do not want users to export passwords from Zoho Vault, you can enable the restriction for exporting passwords. Or in case if you don't want users to share passwords with outside users, you can enable the restriction for sharing with third parties or external user. Or if you do not want users to like access Zoho Vault through mobile application, and you want them access only from like the web interface of the product or using the browser extension, you can enable the restrictions accordingly. And by default in Zoho Vault, for better auditing purpose, we do not allow using multiple passwords. Like using same name for multiple passwords. In case like if you want to have multiple passwords with same name, you can also enable the option to reuse password names in Zoho Vault. So additionally, you have like a lot more options in the fine-grained controls. Even you can restrict users from adding and sharing passwords in Vault. So when you enable the restrictions, you can also see the option for manage exemptions on the right side. So normally when you enable the restriction, and users when they access the particular interface or particular option in Vault, so they see that the function is currently restricted to them, or like, and they are advised to contact the administrator. So if you want to, allow access to the restricted feature to specific users. For example, if you want only, one or two members, trusted members of your organization to export passwords, or you want only, specific people to access Zoho Vault through mobile application, then you can exclude just those users from this restriction. So they alone can make use of this particular functionality while it is restricted or disabled for other team members in the vault. So this is fine-grained controls. Now, so payment cards. So you can very well, add payment card details in Zoho Vault now. So you can securely store and share card details in Vault. So you have a dedicated category now. So when you add any password on top, you have category. So based on the information you store in Zoho Vault, you can select the appropriate category. So in this case, we can use the payment card category to store the card details in Vault. So in case if you want to autofill this particular part only on particular websites, then you can also add URL to the particular card information. So you can autofill this part only on specific websites based on URL matching. And now these information that we, the payment card can be shared with other team members in Zoho Vault. So you can share this with individual users, or if you want to share it with a team, then you can navigate the user groups and you can share with a specific team in what.
So just a heads up, we just have 12 minutes. So IP restriction and break class along with some resources. Yes, we have 12 minutes.
So that's pretty much about adding the payment card information and sharing with team members. And now, in case if you access, any of the payment portals, you will find Zoho Vault icon, and you can use the Zoho Vault icon to, autofill the card details. So just for a quick reference, so you will find the Vault icon. So you can just click the Vault icon and you can fill in the card details through Zoho Vault. That's it. So, and the next option is emergency access. As I explained earlier, like the entire product is based on the ownership and sharing model. So this is to ensure that, we regulate access only to required passwords to users. So at any point in time, when any user logs into Vault, including the super admin of the product, they will have access only to the passwords, that are owned by them and shared with them. So let's say if one of our colleagues is on a vacation or falls sick, and at the same time we come across a business critical situation where we need access to some unshared password, the wallet or associated with the particular user's account. So the in order to tackle such critical situation, so we can rely on this emergency access option. So for emergency access, first we need to configure the emergency contact in Zoho Vault, and the emergency contact can be configured by the superadmins of Zoho Vault. So it is not available to all the users or to all the admins. So for that, first we need to make sure that you have the superadmin privilege in Vault. So only superadmins can configure the emergency contact. So you can select the required user and add the user as an emergency contact. And when we add a user as an emergency contact, there will be a 24 hours of buffer time for activate that particular user account. So this is to make sure that in case if any of the other admins have any trust related issues with the user, we have added as an emergency contact. So we can very well discuss and we can continue to like keep that account as an emergency contact or eliminate it from the emergency contact. So that is just a buffer time to decide and ensure we add a trusted contact for emergency access in Vault. So once the emergency contact is active, they can declare emergency in Zoho Vault anytime when there is a critical situation with the business or if there is a necessity to access some critical unshared password in the Vault. So at present, this particular user account, so this has access only to like 6 passwords that are shared with this particular user account. So now let's try declaring an emergency from this account. So when we declare emergency, we should also provide reason for this particular action. And once we declare the emergency, automatically an email notification will be triggered to all users. And this user will instantly get access to all business passwords that are stored by everyone in the system. So this will allow you to temporarily access all business passwords to tackle any kind of emergency or critical situation, to access an unshared passwords in your environment. So you can retrieve the required password, and once after retrieving the required password, you can terminate the emergency access. Or if you leave it as such, based on the session validity configured by the product admin or the super admin while configuring your emergency contact. So this session will automatically terminate. Since we have auditing capability in the product, you also have, the real-time visibility of what passwords are being retrieved by the user from Zoho Vault after declaring emergency. So all activities are completely tracked and available in the tool. And at the same time, so during the emergency access period, so the person who has declared emergency, they get read-only access to the password. So they cannot make changes to it or delete a password from the system. Or even if they try to export, they cannot access or export data that are not allowed to them or not shared with them. So that's how the tool is designed for emergency access. And finally, the IP restriction. So IP restriction in general, it is defined to allow Zoho Vault access only from a particular network. Since Vault is a cloud-based or an online password management solution, so this is completely based on the public IP address from where the end user is accessing the platform or the service. So in case if you have any requirement where you want to allow Zoho Vault access only from your office network or from your company network, and if you have a static IP already purchased from your internet service provider, then you can enable the IP restriction feature in Vault. So you can provide an IP range in case if you have a bulk of IPs purchased from your internet service provider, or you can configure a particular IP in case if there is only one IP purchased from the internet service provider. Or in case if it is not a range of IP, or if it has, you have 5 IPs but not a range, you can also configure it as a single IP in the product, and you can allow access to Vault only from that particular IP address in the tool. So once the IP restriction or once the IPs are added to Vault, you can enable the IP restriction feature in Zoho Vault. And once it is enabled, users are enforced to access Zoho Vault only from that particular IP address. And by default, the super admin who configure or enable the IP restriction, they will be automatically excluded from the IP restriction. So in case if they have configured an incorrect IP, they should be able to access and correct it. So for that purpose, we are excluding it. In addition to that, if you also want to exclude some other team members from the restriction, you can also very well exclude users from the IP restriction. So the IP restriction, when you enable it, it is applicable to, or it applies to all kind of access to Vault. So in case of mobile application, there is an optional configuration available under fine-grained controls. You can disable this IP restriction for mobile application. So users, they can continue to access platform or access Zoho Vault service from the mobile application from anywhere. But the desktop access or the browser extension access is limited to allowed IP. So that's pretty much about the IP restriction. Maulik, over to you, Maulik.
Yes, Christopher, thank you very much. So I will take over the session, but there is one interesting question from Adrian. So I just thought we can answer that before we jump in. So the question is, if a user flags a password as personal, so when you declare emergency, will it be accessible?
No, so the personal passwords are strictly maintained as private information to the user. So when we declare emergency, only enterprise passwords are, like allowed to access. The personal passwords will not be accessible to the person who is declaring emergency in Zoho Vault.
Thank you, Christopher. So, Adrian, hope that answered your question. If you still have any questions, I can enable mic access for you. You can feel free to join. Just let us know. Okay, I think that answered the question. Okay, I'm sharing my screen, so I just need a couple of minutes. So I hope it is visible now.
Yes, Mol.
So just a quick information here. Zoholics is our annual user conference. So we are doing Zoholics now in your city. So we are doing our upcoming sessions in APAC region, Singapore, Malaysia, and Philippines, and Australia and New Zealand. Of course, in the European and North American region. So just go to Google, look for Zoholics. So our experts are coming to your city. You can register for the session and you can get to learn new and latest features and book for one-on-ones. So yeah, just an information from our side. So make use of the opportunity. And in Zoho World, we have also introduced paid trainings and certifications. If you are a one customer or Zoho Vault standalone product customer, we still offer free trainings and onboarding, but paid trainings and certifications are for power users, especially from enterprises, where they mandate their admin to take a certification and training course for the compliance. So we have a course now available and certification available for such use case. So Zoho Spark is our portal from where you can enroll for Zoho Vault trainings and certification. If you need any online help learning resources, you can go to vault/help. So from where you can get our help documents, videos, and everything. And just want to share a few enhancements. So we have introduced passphrase generator and password complaints reports in Zoho Vault. So passphrase generator is something like this. So you go to the normal Vault screen. So from where when you add a password, there is a password generator already here. So now we also have added an option for passphrase. So passphrase is something now security experts are recommending. Rather than using a password, it is better to use a passphrase, and you can use it with mixed case, number, and a huge range of combination. So this is the latest addition. Another addition is password complaints reports. So this report will give you a clear picture of the adherence of your password to the password policies and enterprise password based on each policies. So this is another feature request that came frequently from our customer, passphrase generator and password complaints report. We have added them now. So we hope this is useful for many of our users. So if you are interested, go ahead and make use of these features. So as usual, if you have any questions or feedback, you can feel free to write to us at support@zohovault. We are also active on social media, Twitter and LinkedIn, and our videos are hosted on Zoho's channel. So yeah, time for Q&A, and I will stop sharing my screen. So I just see if there are any additional questions. So Adrian said, thank you. It answered his question. So there is another interesting feedback from one of our attendee. So if I look for a password with domain matching, Vault should state the latest password based on my activity history. So we thank you, Paul. So Paul has requested this feature enhancement. We will add it to our product roadmap. So I think we have taken solid 1 hour. So Christopher, you want to add anything, or we can close this session, Christopher, with your note? Yes.
All right. So once again, I want to thank all of you for joining this session. As usual, like if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us. So the support is available, 24/5. In case if you need any assistance with setting up any of the features that we discussed during this session, we will also be happy to help you with that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We will meet you soon in another session. If you have any feedback or what type of topics we should cover in your time zone, let us know. Thank you.